Hi everyone, this is Marlene with Miami Ghost Chronicles, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Stories of the Supernatural. If you're watching it on the internet or listening to a podcast version of the show, make sure to subscribe so that you get notified when a new show is released. And if you'd like to find links to videos or MP3 files, just go to miamighostchronicles.com, and you can also submit any eerie experiences you've had at the Submit Your Story tab. Also, hook up with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, where you can find information not only about new shows, but also about monthly free merchandise giveaways. So get comfortable, enjoy this new episode, and just imagine it's a dark and stormy night where not a creature is stirring, not even a mouse. And if a creature is stirring, you hope it's a mouse. Hi everybody, this is Marlene with Miami Ghost Chronicles, Stories of the Supernatural. How's everybody doing tonight? Well, I'm doing great over here, sunny South Florida, even though you won't see the show for a little bit. This past week, I always comment on the weather. What can I say? I'm happy. Like I said, I'm the cold weather wimp. And this is in the 50s and very cold, but then I see what's going on in Chicago up in the Northeast. What is that? Arctic blasts and people getting their Canadian Goose jackets stolen off of them in the street. Yeah, I'm glad I'm down here. But anyway, guys, the good thing about tonight, besides the wonderful weather here in South Florida, is the guest that I have. And this is a gentleman who, of course, has worked in the paranormal, is familiar with the paranormal, and I'm going to bring him on, and I'll give you a little bit of bio on him. His name is Al Santarriga. Okay, and he is a founder of Global Executive Director Investigations, and he's been married for 28 years, has 2 kids. He's worked for the U.S. government for the last 27 years, and he's already ahead of the curve. He had his first UFO sighting in the summer of 1972 at the age of 10. Okay. And then he's also had a Bigfoot sighting in the summer of 74 when he was 12 down here in Florida. We're definitely going to ask Al about that. And he had his first insectoid sighting the fall of 1990 while working off the Aqueduct in North Yonkers, New York. Okay, he's had a lot of paranormal experiences, which we're going to ask him about, absolutely. And he also is the founder of Bronxville Paranormal Society. So let me bring him on. How are you doing today, Al? How are you doing tonight?
Oh, Marlene, you're too kind. Thank you very much for that intro. Wow, it just humbled me. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
No, on the contrary, it is my pleasure. And, Al, usually I ask my guests, did you have experiences as a kid? But we're beyond that. But, what was that first experience that you had? Was it something like most things when you're a kid that it just dropped in your lap kind of thing?
Well, you got to understand. My mother used to have premonitions all the time. She would have premonitions, so she was connected to the paranormal in that way. I mean, of course, I didn't comprehend it at 10 years old, but who's a parapsychologist today, he was an investigator, so there was always books in the house about UFOs, Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, all of that stuff. So I was hooked at an early age, and excuse me, as far me and my best friend Rich it was like a one summer night. He was sleeping over my house, and my father a garage, an A-frame garage, and we were just laying on the garage roof, him on the south side, me on the north side of the roof, going between us, listening to some music, and sky watching. We're big sky watchers. Always was a big sky watcher. For some reason, I just feel like I'm connected to the heavens, to the stars. I don't know why. And we were just watching the sky one night, and all of a sudden I seen like these 3 balls of light dancing in the sky. And I was like, hey, Rich, check this out. So he jumped over on my side of the roof, and we were just checking it out. And, they were way up there. They looked like stars. So we knew they weren't planes. We living down in the city, New York, we see planes coming and going all the time from every different direction. We know what a plane looks like. And these things, so my father had this huge spotlight in the garage that he used to go crabbing with. And so I jumped off the garage and I got the spotlight. So watch this, and I did like a little Morse code with it.
Really?
And and when I did this Morse code with it, these 3 ball points of light all stopped, just stopped dead, like they seen them. So Rich has let me try. So then Rich does like a Morse code kind of thing with it, and one Morse code back. It does the same code back. So we're freaking out, like holy crap, man, what is this? And so I said, give me the light back. So then I do a little Morse code kind of thing with it, and one of the points of light just dropped straight out of the sky. It went from being as high as a star to just above where the planes, what do you call that? The air traffic was.
Okay.
It would just be above like the air traffic, and it just dropped straight down, and we freaked out. We were like, oh my God. And here's this ball of light in the sky, brighter than any star, and it's just hovering, above, I don't know how high the air traffic is at that point, down
right
1,000 feet above the sky, and we just freaked out. We thought, oh man, we're gonna get abducted,
Yeah.
We jumped off the garage roof. We ran in my bedroom and we hid under the bed, and we laid there for a couple hours. My father came and said, what's wrong with you guys, And we told him what happened, and he just laughed because he thought it was nonsense, and
yeah, what is it? Nobody listens, nobody believes the kids.
My father was a World War II hero. He had all kinds of Purple Hearts and all this. I didn't believe in any of that stuff. He didn't believe in ghosts or anything like that. And even though he's seen one run right past his car,
really,
right through the engine block of his car, and he still didn't believe in ghosts, even though he knows what he's seen. When he would tell his ghost story with his best friend, who was like a tank commander in World War II, these 2 guys weren't afraid of anything.
Okay.
And
can you tell that story, because that story sounds great? What would you retell that story?
Oh yeah, my father and his best friend Angelo, both grew up in Yonkers. They both joined the. My father went into the Army infantry and engineering thing. And he was like an engineer, and his friend went into the tank commander thing. So they've both seen a lot of action all over the world, and so one after the war is over, they're back in Yonkers, and during I think it's like January or February, out at the east end of Long Island there's a little fishing village called Montauk Point. And there at Montauk Point was an inlet that had an old Navy yard. It was an abandoned Navy yard from like the 1800s, because Montauk, George Washington built the first lighthouse out of Montauk Point, out on Long Island. That was like the first one that was built in this country. So they were out there fishing because it was like this certain time of the year where these certain fish would come in, spawn or whatever. And it was the dead of winter. It was like February. They were freezing their ass off. And they had decided to go into the car to get a coffee break. It was in the wee hours, maybe 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. And to the right of them were the old hangars where they would work. They would work on the boats, the Navy Yard boats, the military boats.
Okay.
And the story has it. They didn't know the story about the hangars or anything. The backstory on this Navy Yard was back in 1800s, the commander of the Navy Yard's wife had an affair with one of the lovers, and they hung that other officer right there on the Navy Yard, right on the docks.
Wow.
So that was his punishment for fooling around with this guy's wife. So they hung him there. So my father and Angelo are sitting in the car eating the Italian combo, right? 12 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning, somewhere around that time. And they see a light go on in the hangar. Now, there's not even any electricity in that hangar anymore, you know. It's an old wooden hangar, you know. So the light goes on, and they're like, what the hell's going on in the hangar? And the door, like, rattling, like, trying to open. And they were just, like, dumbfounded. They couldn't. And my father's like, all right, Angelo, let's go see what's going on, you know. And Angelo's like, no. Let's see what comes out, you know.
Yeah. Well, wait a minute.
I thought it was people messing around. And go rob his like fishing pole out on the dock and all their stuff, you know, their coolers and everything. So anyway, the hangar door comes flying open, like somebody kicked the thing open, and this ghostly apparition comes out of the hangar, goes through the fence, the gated fence of the hangar, and goes through my father's. My father had a 65 Mustang at the time, and it went through his motor block, and it stopped right in the center of the car. Half of its ghostly apparition below the hood of the car, the other half above, looks into the car, and it's dressed like in an old military-style Navy uniform.
Oh, wow.
And it looks into the car, and it just starts moaning like, oh.
Oh, God, and your father was a non-believer after that?
Angelo freaks out and says, okay. My father's like, I'm not going nowhere until I get my fishing pole and all my stuff, you know, my net and everything. And my father didn't want to go. I mean, he was freaked out, but he didn't want to go. We got to go. So they packed up their gear. They went back to Yonkers, and you know, they told the whole family story. You know, my father thought it was a joke. He laughed about it. But Angelo,
never went back over there. I take it.
When he told this story, this dude, even if it was, he would tear up. He would get so emotional. He was so scared that he would tear up. Now he tells this story to my brother, who's a paranormal investigator at the time, and my brother tells his friends, "We got to go out to Montauk."
I bet.
So they go out to Montauk, and they go take pictures of the hangar, and they do EVPs. You know, they're working and everything. You know, back then it was all old school stuff. You know, no high tech electronics like today. And when I do my investigation, I always go both old school, new school. Anyway, my brother ends up at like an all night diner, and he starts, you know, talking to the hangar, you know, and the guy told my brother the whole story about, you know, the history of the hangar and when it was built and about this. So that's, my brother got the whole backstory on it, you know. Okay. But even after my father seen that ghost, you know, literally on the other side of the windshield, he always claimed he didn't believe in ghosts, but I don't know how you cannot believe in something when you've seen it with your own two eyes.
You know what it is? I think sometimes to people like your dad, it's like, if I go with this, what else? You know, it's like, I'm afraid of opening that door because then what am I going to do?
Yeah, my father was a no-nonsense kind of guy. You know, he ruled with an iron hand, and you know, just, I mean, seeing it, you usually believe in it. But even that, you know, he was like, oh, we were tired. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. We were having coffee. But, you know, Angelo sitting right next. How many times Angelo was over at my house, you know, with his wife having coffee and cake. And I always asked him about this story, you know. And Angelo would swear on a stack of Bibles. And he was a God-fearing man. That night was the only, even through all his times in the war, that night was the only night he ever seen a real ghost, you know. So I believe.
That's usually what happens. People don't go looking for it, and it happens to them. It happens to them, and they. So anyway, you had, okay, the UFO sighting, and then you're here down visiting in Florida, and then what happened when you were visiting your sister?
Okay, every summer, my cousin Anthony and I would get shipped down to Florida. It was like our summer camp. Okay. You know, people send their kids away to summer camp. Well, my father would send me and my cousin Anthony down to Florida to go to go stay with my sister.
Okay.
Husband Joe, Joe was an ex-Marine, and he always had a ton of stuff for us to do around the house every single day. We worked. We worked from 8 o'clock in the morning until about 1 in the afternoon. Then he would say it's too hot to work, you guys. But he always had to cut the grass, trim the hedges, clean the pool, paint the house. I mean, he did stuff every single day. But but it wasn't all. It was a lot of fun too, because they had a built-in swimming pool, and they took us all over the place. We went to Disney World and SeaWorld, and the Florida Keys and the Gulf of Mexico. We did a lot. We seen a lot of stuff. We had a lot of good time. But that was our summer vacation. So my sister lived in this development called Sunshine Acres in Davie, Florida.
Okay.
Now, in 1972, Davie, Florida was a one-horse town.
Yes, it
still
was.
Still had dirt roads, and the biggest thing was 4th of July when the rodeo came to town. That was the big thing in Davie, Florida. I remember looking forward to the rodeo every year because it was always, So, but the one good thing about it is everybody who lived in the development, and this development was like a giant square. Okay, you crossed over one of the canals, and it was this giant square, and it was like a 4-mile square block. It was a mile in each direction, and I used to jog it every day, and it was 4 miles. Good thing about it is every year you met all the same kids, you know what I mean? Because these kids lived there, you know what I mean?
You know what people don't realize back then, people didn't move around as much, so.
No, and everybody, whatchamacallit, forward to seeing out of the year,
Yeah.
So when we get down there, first thing we do is hook up with all the guys and all the girls from the neighborhood, and tell stories and build BS and yada yada yada, and so we had a lot of friends in the neighborhood, a couple of dirt bikes, and the Everglades was like right behind my sister's house, and we'd go riding in the Everglades on the dirt bikes, and we'd have bonfires in there at night, But everybody, it was a really cool time. Well, my sister first moved to that development. The first year, she lived right in the front of the development, and there wasn't really nothing happening in the front of the development. But when they built the second house, which we called the Blue House, because the first house was green, when they built the Blue House in the back of the Everglades, that's where we had all our action with the Sasquatch, the skunk ape. Well, so one night we're sitting up, me and my cousin Anthony, and we're watching, TV, and my sister had 2 giant German shepherds, and the front of the house, on the side of the house, around the backyard was all fenced in with like a 6-foot fence, but the actual front of the house was open with a circular driveway with a fountain. So there was no fence in the front of the house, just on the sides and the back. And one night we're hanging out, and all this going absolutely crazy. And, my cousin said, you better put the dogs in the garage for it. It wake the whole house up. We put the dogs in the garage, and we smelled this really nasty smell go by the house. I mean, it was brutal. So the next day, but the next day we got up, we slept. My sister had a day room, and it had a pull-out couch with a queen-size giant picture window, and that's where we slept, in the front of the house. So the next day we're all sitting down for breakfast, and we're telling them, something came by the house last night. Smelled, the dogs were crazy. We had to put them in the garage. And my brother-in-law said, must have been the skunk ape. So me and my cousin Anthony, we look at my brother-in-law like, skunk ape. The hell's the skunk ape? And he says, down here they called the Sasquatch skunk ape. And we're looking at him, right. This guy's pulling our legs. You know what I mean? No such thing as a skunk ape. We knew about Bigfoot, but everybody always thought it was in the Pacific Northwest.
Right.
And so after my brother-in-law left to go to work, my sister, he had a restaurant in town, and it was a really good restaurant. Did a lot of business, and he was always at the restaurant. So we asked the guys in the neighborhood, we said, hey, man, did you smell that horrible smell last night? Did you guys smell it? We smelled it, yada, yada, yada. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, it's just a skunk ape. I'm like, what do you mean it's just a skunk ape, It's like, it's like this, Bigfoot creature we have down here, comes out during the hottest times in the summer. And that summer was unusually hot, so much so there was droughts, fires in the Everglades. The Everglades was burning, and a lot of the wildlife was moving in away from the fire.
Right.
So these guys are like nonchalant about it, like it was no big deal. Happens all the time, you know. It's like, okay, you know. Yeah, me and my cousin Anthony, like we're talking, like we come down to Florida to get killed by a monster. Now, meanwhile, we live in a. And we're gonna come down to Florida to get killed, you know. Take my chances in the back alleyway in the Bronx, you know.
Yeah, thanks.
So anyway, a few nights go by, and again, now it's later. It's later in the evenings, and me and my cousin Anthony are laying in bed, you know, not really sleeping, just bullshitting, and the sensor lights go on in the front of the house, and all of a sudden we see the biggest bipedal shadow walk across the front of our window, this huge picture window that had a shade on it pulled down. We see this giant shadow walk across the window, and then it stops. So we're both looking at this shadow, like, what the hell? So I jump off the bed and I roll on the floor. I do like an army crawl to the window, and I'm peeking at the window because I got to see what the hell this is. Again, the dogs start going ballistic. Cousin Anthony's dragging the dogs into the garage, and I'm peeking out the window, and there's this 9-foot, 900-pound monster staring into the. I think it sees me at the corner of the window, you know, and it does this like incredible Hulk flex, and it screams this blood-curdling scream that just and my cousin Anthony's like just frozen solid. He's not moving. He's in the doorway, and he's not moving. And I'm thinking the thing is looking at me, but in hindsight, you'll be 2020. It probably seen its reflection in the glass and thought it was another Sasquatch.
Okay.
You know, and they were like a territorial thing. But I don't know that. I think the thing is screaming at me, so I freak out. I close the screen. So it starts to walk around the right. We had an empty lot next to us. There wasn't any homes built there as of yet. It had a wild watermelon patch. This thing is walking along the side of the house. So me and my cousin, we run into the bathroom that was on that side of the house. We keep the lights off so you can't see in. And as this thing turns the corner, it's walking along the 6-foot fence. And that's how I gauged the height of the event.
Okay.
I was like 3 feet taller than the fence. It's walking along the fence, and it's looking at us. And we're looking at it, but we're thinking there's no way it can see us because the screen is tinted, the window is tinted, we got the light off, you know. But this thing is looking at us as it's walking along the fence line.
Oh, my God.
Kneels down and grabs a wild watermelon, takes a bite out of it, and literally the whole thing is, there's nothing left but 2 nubs in each hand. Throws it on the ground and walks towards the back of the house. As he hits the back of the house, the sensor lights go in the back. We run out the bathroom. We run out into the patio. My sister had a screened-in patio and a pool on the outside with another patio on the outside.
Right.
We're inside the patio with all the lights off again, thinking that it can't see us. But as you know, what I forgot to mention, when it screamed, all I could see was its face. I mean, I seen the whole body, but I was locked onto its eyes, and its eyes were red. Oh. Now, I don't know if it was red because of the reflection of the spotlights in its eyes, or if it just had red eyes. But anyway, it's walking along the side of the house. Now, behind our house, our neighbor had a man-made lake. Okay. Now, we used to swim in a man-made lake all the time because the water in the man-made lake was a lot cooler than it was at the pool.
Okay.
This thing squats down, puts one hand down to support itself, takes the other hand, cuffs it, and starts drinking the water out of the man-made lake. All the time looking back at us like it's watching us. And we're looking at it, and then it gets up, and it walks off to an angle, like a southeast angle, towards the swamp where we ride our dirt bikes and we take the horses out on because we used actually down the street doing like tours of the Everglades of the swamps,
Right.
horseback riding because we used to love riding horses. And so it heads back to the swamps where we hang out at night, so we're freaking out.
I can.
So the next
ignorance
day-
was bliss. You didn't know. I was like, oh man.
Then the next day, you know, we tell all the guys in the neighborhood this thing came by the house. There's like 18-inch footprints out in the sand. My brother-in-law said he's gonna come home for lunch from the restaurant with some plaster of Paris. He wants to make footprints and put them up on his bar in the house, you know, like so.
So
but
did
he
you go
never
back
comes
out?
home.
I can imagine you must have not been too thrilled to go back out in that area anymore.
Well, you know what? We didn't feel we never felt that we were in danger during the day when we were out there. You know, if we were riding our dirt bikes back there, or we would nurses, we never felt like we were in danger. You know what I mean? But at night was a different thing. I mean, put it this way: the bonfires that we used to stay out there till like 11 and 12 started like. We started going back like to the house around 10. You know what I mean? We didn't stay out there after that. So then a few nights go by, and so a rancher down the street. There was a horse rancher down the street who just picked up this new Mustang or stallion or whatever it was from like Wyoming or Montana or something.
Okay.
He couldn't put it in the stables with the other horses because it would kick and it would make all the other horses nervous.
Okay.
So he left it out in the corral at night, and he had a Seminole Indian come in every day to work this because he couldn't ride it. It was wild.
Okay.
And one night we're sitting out. It was around 12 o'clock, I would say, because Joe had just got home from the restaurant. He always used to bring home a couple of pies for us. We'd always have like a couple of pizzas like 12 o'clock at night, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we're sitting out in the patio, eating the pizzas, and we hear boom going off, you know. So we run to the front of the house, and you know you can see the shots being fired from the horse ranch's stables, you know.
Okay.
And so we jump on our dirt bike. Now, one of our best friends was that guy's son. That's how we used to take the tours out. So we jump on our dirt bikes and we head on over to see what's going on, you know. We get there, the stallion's not in the corral, it's out in the pasture. So we're asking our friend, we're saying, hey, you know, Timmy or whatever his name was, what's going on? What's going on? He says, oh, try to kill the new horse. You know, the horse started, you know, making all kinds of noise. And came out, took a couple of shots at it, and the creature ran off into the swamp. So calls sheriff, yada yada yada. We leave. Next day we go back. Everybody's still there. You know, everybody's still there. And so this Native American goes out to the pasture, and he gets the horse, the Mustang. We call it a Mustang, and he brings it back to the corral. And when he brings it back to the corral, this horse has got handprints on its hind quarter.
Oh my God.
Not scratches, but handprints. Like something grabbed this horse from behind so hard to hold it down. But the stallion must have kicked out.
Okay.
And got away from the creature and then jumped the corral. And I guess once it got into the corral, this creature couldn't catch it.
Right.
So we were free. You know, the Native Americans, like the Seminole Indians, say, like, I never seen anything like this. You know what I mean?
I was about to ask you, you know, did the Seminole give his 2 cents worth? As in, yeah, we know, or.
Well, you know, they knew what it was. They knew it was
right,
a skunk
right.
escape, but we never seen, you know, anything like this. Where, you know, first of all, the horse was such a nervous wreck to begin with. How does something 9 feet tall,
Yes.
900 pounds, creep up on it to get close enough to grab it? It's beyond my comprehension. I couldn't. It was
Right.
mind-boggling. All right, so then the sheriff says, okay, we're going to stop picking up the patrol in the neighborhood. You guys are having a lot of action out here, you know. And me and the deputy will be patrolling at night, yada, yada, yada. Okay, no problem. So a couple of days go by. It's been quiet, no big deal. And my sister and my brother-in-law had friends from New York. Took them out to Miami for a night out on town. And me and my cousin Anthony stayed home, babysit the kids, you know. And they were rolling into the house around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever it was. And they're getting out of the car, and of course, you know how dogs are. They run to the door barking and everything. So we go outside, and my brother-in-law had just bought this brand new Lincoln Continental, I don't know, Mark, whatever number it was, Mark 5 or whatever, and it had the sunroof, the whole 9 yards. And they're getting out of the car, and he's asking, any action tonight? He's like, no action tonight, quiet night. No sooner than we say that, we hear the most horrific cry that you ever heard. It was just such a weird, crazy, loud scream, cry. I don't know how to explain it, but it was just crazy. Just sent chills down your spine. All of a sudden, we're looking up the street now. To our northeast is a cattle rancher.
Okay.
And this guy really didn't like us because I'll be brutally honest. Every time we came around the corner on our dirt bikes, we would rip up his grass because we would take such wide because we dirt bikes and we couldn't cut a tight turn. We'd have to take a while. My brother-in-law was always resodding this guy's property. You know what I mean? So he wasn't fans of us. But this guy had this huge white brown in his pasture for the cows. And this bull was a monster. It had the hump in its neck, and it was just it was the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. You know what I mean? It was a huge bull, just a monster of a. And so we had a shotgun going off and everything, and so my brother says, "Son, my cousin Anthony Messenger side, he riding shotgun. I'm in the back. I'm hanging out at the moonroof. Come around the corner, and just as we come around the corner, the deputy for us on his nightly patrol.
Okay.
And he's going really slow, like 5 miles an hour. You know, we want to race to see what's going on. And
get out of the way.
He's going slow, and he's got his spotlight, and he's looking towards the swamp to the left. That's what the swamp was, to see if anything was out there. He's going real giant or whatever. And the creature comes running out from between a couple of houses from the right, and the deputy hits it. And this car looked like it hit a telephone pole because it just stopped dead. Creature stumbles back, takes down like a bus sign or something, you know, like for the children's bus sign, one of those yellow signs. Right. Takes down one of those signs. The deputy is like, I'm looking at it. I'm sticking out the window. My brother-in-law hits it with the high beams. It gets up, limps deputy's car, and now at the far end of the block, and you know, like I said, each block was like a mile long. You can see the headlights from the sheriff turning the corner. He's coming down, okay? And this thing walks over to the deputy's car. It's limping. Walks over to the car, looks at the deputy, blood-curdling scream, and punches the front of the police car with hammer punches. So hard that the back of the car comes off the ground. The deputy is in shock. My brother-in-law's got everything lit up with the high beam, so we can see the deputy. The sheriff used to carry the shotgun in between the two riders. The shotgun was inside the cab of the car. It wasn't in the trunk like they carry it now. And you can see the shotgun being lit up, and the deputy's just standing there with his hands on the wheel. This creature looks at him, limps. And now the sheriff rolls up, and he sees the police car totaled. He's like, what the hell happened, you know? And the deputy is telling him, I hit the skunk ape with the police car, you know? And the sheriff is like, shoot him, you know? Like, no, I didn't shoot him, you know?
Yeah, like, thanks.
So then he starts asking us, did you guys see it? And he's taking our statement, because now he's got to write out a statement for the insurance because the police car is totaled, you know? So we're giving our statement to the sheriff. The deputy's giving it, you know, and the sheriff is like, "Why didn't you shoot it?" And he's like, "The shotgun wouldn't have done anything. You know, this thing was just too big. You know." At the same time, the cattle rancher comes racing up the street in his pickup truck, and he's screaming and yelling, "You got to see what that goddamn monster did to my prize bull." Now I'm thinking, what the hell could this thing have done to that bull? That bull was a beast.
Oh.
Had to weigh 2,500 pounds. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
my God.
the sheriff says, all right, the deputy, finish writing out the report. I'm going to go to this guy's house, see what happened. So we follow the sheriff back to the cattle rancher's house.
Right.
And he's flashing his spotlight on his car across the pasture. There in the middle of the pasture is the bull's torso bleeding out.
Oh my God.
So he's like, where the hell is the bull's head? He's shining his spotlight on. There in the far corner, 100 yards away, is the bull's head. This creature ripped the bull's head right off of his body.
Holy crap.
And then threw it across the pasture. I guess
it makes you wonder, was
bull.
it sick? What was going on that it decided, oh my God.
Well, I'm thinking maybe the bull seen it in the pasture and was trying to protect the cows. You know,
Could be,
very territorial, and may have charged this creature, and this creature somehow, sidestepped it or whatever and grabbed it by the head and ripped its head out off. So we can't. I'm because I used to jog that route every day. I would see that. But there was a time where one of the people in the neighborhood had this giant St. Bernard.
Right.
And this woman was coming home for groceries. She hit the fence. Gate opened up. I'm running by the house, and the St. Bernard comes charging out after me.
Okay.
I have to jump over the 4-foot fence to the pasture where the cows are. Now the bull is looking at me like, what the hell are you doing here?
So
And
you're
I'm
running away
thinking,
from Cujo, and you end up.
What do I do? I got this. Am I right? And I got this bull just staring at me. But I know enough that bulls are nearsighted that if this thing charges me, I can dodge it. You know what I mean? I know that from watching the Nature Channel all my life. So but I get in between all the cows, and I start working my way to the front of the pasture to get to the gate to get out. While the lady's calling her dog. I'm thinking, what the hell? How did this creature kill this bull? I would have put my money on the bull. You know what I mean? I really would have.
But you're probably right, though. Maybe it was trying to protect the cows.
Yeah, I'm sure it was territorial. It's a bull. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what they do. They make babies and they protect their territory.
Yeah, I think that's very plausible.
Yeah. So we got home. Summer, I'm telling you, man, we seen more video of people like news people on the TV going to all these different locations, interviewing witnesses who seen like the skunk apes looking in their windows. Where a state trooper seen one run across the highway over there. I forgot what the name of the highway was. But there was one over there. Another state trooper had one come up on his car while he was parked in the woods like a speed trap. So we were seeing all this stuff. So we couldn't wait for the next day and to see the news because we figured it was going to be all over the news because that night the state police came in, the town police was there, the county police was there. They were there with helicopters. They were there with horses and dogs. And they searched those Everglades, that swamp, those canals, all night long. And they never found anything, nothing.
Wow.
So the next day, we went Dixie, and we buy like 3-4 local papers, see if there's anything in it. And there's nothing. Because I'm thinking, I'm bringing this stuff back to New York. Wait till I tell my brother. When I tell the story,
Of course.
Nothing in the newspaper. Nothing on the radio, nothing on the TV, like it never happened. It was just so weird. And it was funny because I was contacted by local BFR representatives in South Florida. This woman, Bree was her name. She seen my report in the Sasquatch Museum report or whatever.
Right.
So she wanted to ask me. She was growing up down there at the same time I was, and she was living in man, I forgot the name of the town that she lived in, but it was like the next town over. And her father had a business in Davie, and her uncle was a police officer in New City.
Okay.
And he would tell, when he would go visit his brother, my age, he would tell his brother, yeah, we went out on a peeping Tom thing the other night, and turned out to be a goddamn skunk ape looking into it. Somebody called the police saying there's a 7-foot black man looking in my window. They get there and they see a skunk ape hiding behind. They come, because they both approached the house from different directions, and when it seen the cops come around the corner with the lights, the 2 flashlights, it ran and dove into the Everglades, the swamp, and swam away. So she's telling him this, and she's hearing this as a kid. So she's like, I live the next town over, and when she posted my report on the BFR report, she reposted all of the sighting reports for that time period down in South Florida.
Right.
And she was trying to get her uncle, because her uncle was a lot of these calls, these peeping Tom calls, and because they weren't official reports, because they were skunk ape incidences, they were never this police reports. It was just kept as I forgot the terminology she used, but it was like his own notes. You know what I mean? So she's trying to get all his notes to put like a book together or something.
Right.
But she blew my mind when she put this whole presentation together for the BFRO page. She put all these headlines and all these pictures and all this stuff, and it's just so it all together. But I mean, that year I couldn't wait to get home to New York to tell my brother. And the first thing my cousin Anthony said to me was, "We can't tell anybody about this." I'm like, "Why not?" He's like, "First of all, everybody's going to think we're crazy. Second of all, my family love is by crucifying you, ridiculing you to death and crucifying you. So if we would have went back to New York and told all my aunts and uncles and everybody, we would have never heard the end of it. They would have broke our chops. They would have broke our chops forever, And when they broke my brother's chops for getting his parapsychology degree, you know what I mean? They wrote him for that for years. So my cousin says, "You can't tell anybody." I said, "I got to tell my brothers." He goes, "Al, you can't tell. If you tell your brother's going to call my mother.
Then the whole family's going to get out."
He goes, and if everybody starts breaking my balls, I'm going to kick your ass." And I was like, cousin Anthony, I didn't want to get thrown a beating, so I said, "Okay, fine, I won't say nothing." So I never told my brother anything about it. For like 30, 40 years, it's called Frank Vanariga, Paranormal Family and Friends. And he asked me if I had any, stories. And I said, yes. I started telling him the stories because my brother's nuts about validating everything.
Right.
So he wanted to, validate the story with my sister. Unfortunately, that my brother Joe had passed away and my cousin Anthony had passed away as well. They both had health issues. And so but he got the validation from me and my sister, So, but that was my skunk ape. First time I seen a Bigfoot, and I was hooked. You know what I mean? I was like, I was hooked as like a 10-year-old. Going to the library on Friday at school. They would send us to the library every Friday, so we'd have books to read on the weekend. Mm-hmm. And I would always come back from the library with a Bigfoot book or a witch book or a devil. A Sasquatch book or a Loch Ness Monster. Was always something like that,
Let me tell you something. I know exactly what you mean, and and this is the thing. Even as a kid, when you have these experiences, your reality changes. Like there's something that can't be undone.
When I used to talk to my friends, hanging out, and partying and stuff, hanging out in the woods, drinking and partying. And stuff like this would come up, and some guys would say, I had like two of my best friends. I'll be honest with you, I did tell my 2 best friends, but just hanging out with and everybody, and everybody would say, that's nonsense. And I would just laugh and say, man, if you've seen in my head, I would say, if you've seen what I've seen, you would know it's not nonsense. Yes. I'm not a believer. I'm a knower, man. I've seen this thing. Yeah.
Exactly. And you can't unsee it. You can't unknow it.
No,
That's the
and
thing.
it's an image that burns into your mind forever. You'll never forget it. You take that with you for the rest of your life. You know,
Absolutely.
you really
People don't
can't.
realize that. You just don't see the world the same way anymore.
And let me tell you, just jumping back over to the UFO thing, right after we made contact with those lights in the sky, when I was 10 years old,
Right.
I started having nosebleeds.
Really?
Okay, and I started sleepwalking, and my
That's weird.
be up watching a late movie, and I would be taking these giant steps, and my father would say, "Well, where you going?" And I was like, "I'm going to the moon." My father said, "You going to the moon?" He said, "Yeah, I'm going to the moon." I said, "What are you going to the moon for?" And I used to tell him, "Because that's where I'm from." So he would say, "All right, get your ass, all right, turn around, go back to bed." And I would turn around. And then I would wake up, and there would be blood all over my pillow, all over my wall, my bed, because the bed was up against the wall.
Right.
So I would ask my father, I said, "Hey, Pop, how come, my nose always bleed?" And he would always tell me, you don't stay still all night long. You flip and flop. You hit your face against the wall, you get a nosebleed. But meanwhile, I'm the type of guy, I moved from an all-Italian neighborhood to an all-Irish neighborhood. And when you grow up in the city, you move 2 blocks, you're in a different neighborhood, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I used to fight every day being the only Italian guy in an Irish neighborhood. And I used to get punched in the nose all the time. Never bled. I got a black eye, I got a bloody lip, I got a fat lip or whatever. But I never got a nosebleed. And I never gather that, here I am fighting everybody in the neighborhood to try to get you guys to accept me, and never got a nosebleed. But yet I would go to sleep, doing some kind of stupid sleepwalking thing, like I'm walking to the moon, and then wake up the next morning and it'd be blood all over the pillow.
And that thing about going to the moon, that's really weird.
Yeah, and I told my father, "That's where I'm from." That's what I told him. That's where I'm from. I'm from the moon, or from space, or whatever. I told him, And I'll tell you another thing that I never told anybody. After I got back from Florida,
okay,
at the skunk ape, I had nightmares about that skunk ape for like 2 years.
I believe it.
2 years, I was freaked out about seeing that thing.
Uh-huh.
It was scary, man. It's something that really 2 years afterwards freaked me out because I had a big picture window. In my bedroom that faced the front of the street, and we had a little garden in the front. So if something 9 foot tall wanted to reach into my bedroom, like through that window, my bedroom wasn't that wide.
Exactly.
Bed. I mean, it could have grabbed me off the bed and pulled me out of that window. So I used to try to get the window. It's like good up in the corner. Yeah, for 2 years, man, I had nightmares about it.
Let me tell you something. People are real. That's what I'm saying. That even if, let's say, you weren't there anymore, you weren't in Davie anymore, that ignorance is bliss is truer than people think. And that's the thing. Once you see something like that, you can't unknow it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Once you experience something like that, it's life change. You know it. You just can't. I don't care what people say.
Well, no, it's like
if
you see a movie based on true events, you read a book at the end. Even if it scares you, you're like, they probably exaggerated. Whatever. But once you have that firsthand experience like you had, it's like, okay, what do they say? Everywhere you go, there you are. How, you can lie to other people, but how much can you lie to yourself?
No, you can't lie to yourself because you know the truth.
Exactly.
You know the truth in your heart and in your head. You know the truth.
Okay.
And let me tell you, getting back to this Bigfoot story.
Okay.
I had a friend who was one of the local guys there, and we went into the swamp, and in the north end of the swamp, or I should say the south end of the swamp, they called it the turnaround, where the tide would come in and turn around and go back out.
Okay.
Okay, and all the local kids would swim in the turnaround, and I would. Are out of your mind. There are alligators in this water. There were alligators everywhere in the swamps. We were surrounded by canals. It was like we were on an island. and there were alligators there would be alligators made lake behind our house, you know what I mean? So, and they would say, oh no, the alligators don't swim in the turnaround. What do you mean they don't swim in the turnaround? There's fish in the turnaround. There's frogs in the turnaround. There's turtles in the turnaround. This is all alligator food. Why
Right.
in it? But for some reason, they said the alligators don't swim in it. Okay. One day, me and my cousin Anthony are fishing in a turnaround. Middle of the day, there's nobody around.
Right.
We're fishing, and here comes this alligator floating on down the current. It was sleeping. It was just sunning itself, floating on the top of the water.
Okay.
At one point, this alligator ends up in the turnaround. When this alligator realized where it was, it couldn't get out of there fast enough. It was like it top of the water to get out of the turnaround. And me and my cousin Anthony just looked at each other and said, what the hell was that all about? This thing was afraid to be at this end, and all of these guys go swimming here, you know? And
Right.
there's water moccasins in that water as well.
Exactly.
All right, so one of my friends says, you know what, Al? I think the reason why they can't find these creatures when they get into these canals is that they have caverns in these canals, on the water, whatever. There's caverns, and they swim into these caverns, and they can't find them. I'm going to find a cavern. So I told this Mike. I said, you're not going to find anything. So we're sitting there. I'm sitting on my dirt bike, and he's going through the cattails and all looking for a cavern or something, right?
Right.
So all of a sudden he pops up out of the water and he says, dude, I found it.
Oh.
It's about 5 feet down. There's an opening behind the cattails. It's a cavern. It leads in. Come on, we got to go check it out. Your mind?
I was going to ask you.
I was like,
you went?
I was like, I said, think about it. If this is Blair, right? What do you think the creature is going to do when you show up there? It's going to rip you to shreds. What would your father do if he came home and found an intruder in his house? He'd probably shoot him, especially back then down in South Florida. Everybody had a gun.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Everybody had it. Every pickup truck that went by, rifles in it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so I said, I'm not going in there. He says, well, look, I'm going in. I'm not back in 10 minutes. Jump on the bike, go to my house, get my brother, bring him back, tell him where I am. Okay.
Wow.
He goes in, and it's 6, 7, 8 minutes, and I'm starting to sweat. I'm freaking out because I'm trying to keep track of the time by counting. 1,000, 2,000, right? So I'm freaking out because all of a sudden the dude explodes out of the water. He comes running out of the water, and I mean, this dude is bouncing off out of his skin. Dude, I found it. You gotta come see it. I found it. I gotta prove it to you. I gotta show you. You gotta be my witness. And I'm like, dude, no, you can't pay me enough money to go
I don't want to be your
water.
witness.
No. So I told him, I said, look, I believe you. Because this dude was so excited. He explained it. He said, opens up to a pool, comes up. When he came out of the water, the smell was so bad. He said it burnt your eyes. You couldn't breathe. He said, but this opening, the land around it, there was like tunnels all around this body of water, like little tunnels that went in deep into the earth, where he thought maybe each tunnel had its own family or something living in it. You know what I mean?
Could be.
So he was like, Al, you got to promise me you never tell anybody. He goes, because if the sheriff finds out about it, they're going to come back with the army. They're going to demolition this. They're going to cave everything in. They're going to kill these creatures. All these things want to do is be left alone. You got to promise. I said, dude, your secret is saying nothing to nobody. I don't want to be on anybody's radar. I'm good, you know? And I didn't even tell my cousin Anthony about it. And I swear to God, I didn't talk about it. I never talked about it until, my brother wrote that book. And that was like 40 years later. That's when I first started talking about that, And I was like, the dude definitely found their lair. I believe, hands down, I believe him to this day that he found it. Did I go in and witness it? Hell no. But I believe he found something.
Well, let me tell you something. I'm a firm believer that that they're also very good at camouflaging themselves. Like really, really good at camouflaging themselves. And that sometimes, I know the skunk apes have the reputation of that you could smell them. You know, in other words, the smell kind of like gives them away. I guess especially, well, it depends if you're down one from them or whatever the case might be. But I also think that maybe for some other versions that don't have that pungent odor, or also depending, they could be really, really close to you, and you just don't see them. You just don't see them.
Yeah, no, I believe it. I mean, you know, we got I got a hot spot up here that I go to expeditions at this hot spot, and long story. I'll tell you a quick story. We were at the time, and we're just sitting there. We were sitting there. It was Hallows Eve. There was a full moon. There was a meteor shower, and the place that we were going to investigate has a history to do not only with Sasquatches but UFOs, and they used to mine. You know, with a nuclear explosion there, where there was an accident that the lake is called Nuclear Lake. Okay, so my team psychic lives in Arkansas. And she read the energy of that place. Places off the charts. She said there are places like this all over the world. She goes, but I've never been to any of them. She goes, this place is totally insane. She says, you know, at this first, we had 3 locations picked out. So at this first location, you're definitely going to Sasquatch experience tonight, you know, at the first location. Okay, no problem. Now, we take what she tells us with a grain.
Right.
We've tested her. I've tested her enough times to know that she's the real deal. She calls my bluff every time I test her. You know, she basically says, Allie, you tested me, and I always say, yeah, I am. You know, I am. I'm testing you. But I don't test her anymore because I know she's the real deal. So we're sitting in the woods, and middle of the woods, and it's freezing out. We got no fire. We just got a couple of glow sticks on the ground for ambient light. My partner, Brian, started out as my tech guy. He's there. He's streaming live on Twitter. We're doing a live stream of our investigation. And my cameraman, Bill. And so we're sitting in the middle of the woods. And we found these 3 round stones that were quartz crystals. And they were set up like a pyramid, you know, in a pyramid shape. Right. And me and Bill had found them just by accident running through the woods. Now, in these woods, there are all these little stone cairns all over the woods, you know, but they're in locations that are up on cliffs or that a human can't possibly get to. Never mind carry rocks up there to build. And the first time I seen them, freaked me out. I thought of like the Blair Witch Project immediately. Just freaked me out. Okay, but anyway, we're sitting in the woods, and you know, with the psychic. So we're doing all this paranormal investigating with these stones, and we're doing readings with it. I'm hitting it with the laser thermometer. I'm hitting it with the infrared camera and all, you know, thermal imager. Not getting anything off of these stones. And the psychic says, no, I'm not feeling anything at this time, yada, yada, yada. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to break out a Tibetan singing bowl. Let's fill these woods up with some vibration and some frequency. Let's see what happens, right? So I hit the Tibetan singing bowl. I mean, I got this thing singing, and it's just echoing through the woods, and it sounds like it's just going on forever. Okay. Now I go back. I get the compass. I put it on the stones. First time I put it on the stones, it moved. Put it on the stones now, it's spinning like a top.
Wow.
It would hit it with the thermal imager. It's white hot. Looks like it's burning hot, but it's ice cold to the touch. The first time I hit it with the thermal imager, it didn't even show up on the thermal imager. I had to put a laser pointer on it so I could even see it. So now, all of a sudden, we're getting I got the parabolic mic going, and we're getting this Morse code coming down out of the sky. So we recorded, everybody listen. I pass it around, let everybody listen to it. Now the parabolic mic records it, so we record this Morse. It's weird code, and we're trying to figure out what's coming at it. Everybody's saying, well, what is it? Could it be this? Could it be that? And I'm thinking, well, maybe there's something up there that we're not seeing that's sending down a signal to us,
Right.
I'm thinking UFO, but I'm not saying UFO, but I'm thinking it, right?
Yeah.
All right. We hear walking coming towards us. Boom, 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 boom. Bipedal walking. And now we've been in the woods a long time, and the energy of this place is really, really strong. And after we hit it with the Tibetan singing bowl, we called the psychic back up. And the energy was so strong that she couldn't talk. It sounded like she had cerebral palsy. We had to walk like 1,000 feet away for her to be able to speak coherently. She couldn't talk. That's how. So she goes, what the hell did you guys do? I thought, we played with Tibetan singing bowl. She goes, oh my God, you just ramped the energy up like 1,000 times. In the meantime, we hear this walking coming over. And I'm thinking, because I'm not thinking straight, I'm thinking it's another paranormal team in the woods on Halloween, and they're going to come over and they're going to find our spot, right? So I'm telling everybody to be quiet. In the meantime, off to our west on the other side of the lake, there's a pack of coyotes going off howling at the moon. To our east is a dog kennel, and the dogs are going crazy. They're barking and going nuts. Okay. We hear this walking come up to us. We cover the glow sticks with some leaves because it's Halloween. There's a lot of leaves on the ground. We cover the glow sticks because we don't want to give away our location. And we hear this bipedal walking come right up to us. Now we're up on a ridge behind some 3-foot-high stone wall that's just 3 direction in the middle of the woods. Nobody knows who made it, why it's there. They're just all over the woods. It's ridiculous, okay? And behind that stone wall is a cliff, is a drop off, about a 50-foot drop off that leads down to the middle of the swamp. We're sitting there. And I'm telling her to be quiet. I think it's another paranormal guy. And Bill and Brian look at me like, "Are you out of your mind? Did you hear the weight of that walking? If it's another dude, he's about 1,000. He weighs like 1,000 pounds." So we're sitting there. All of a sudden, we get 3 rock knocks. Click, click, click.
Oh.
So now I'm excited. Oh. I take out my little bat. I got a little bat. I used it for knocks, and I drew 3 knocks back. Boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, we get 3 of the loudest, most powerfulest whoops that you ever heard in your life. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And not only is the vibration of the through us, but you can feel the vibration in the ground going up our legs. All of a sudden, the coyotes stop howling, the dogs start barking, and the woods goes deathly silence. You could hear a leaf drop. That's how quiet it was. So we're sitting there. When we go out, all we take are 10-inch survival knives, 18-inch machetes, and pepper spray. I don't allow anyone to carry any firearms. I don't want to be responsible for any accidents, anybody getting shot.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, we do take the weapons because there are black bears and cougars, and the coyotes up here are the size of German shepherds because they're coy dogs. They're half-breeds, so they're big. They're big. So we do take weapons to protect ourselves in case we get attacked by, a real animal or something, right?
Right.
So a known predator, I should say. So anyway, these 3 whoops go off, and Bill is just freaking out, and I'm like, calm down, guys, relax. We're cool. Let's just see what happens. So all of a sudden, we get a whoop from the west side of the lake, and a whoop from the south side of the lake, and a whoop from the north side of the lake, and all of a sudden, there's more than just one creature in the woods with us.
Sounds like you guys are surrounded there.
We are surrounded. And, none of us are running towards the water, jumping in that lake, knowing that there's been a nuclear accident there. Even though they dredged it up and they cleaned it, I'm not going in that water, you know?
I bet.
So we're sitting there, and I tell everybody, calm down, relax. We sit back down on a chair, and a few minutes later, we hear a rock get thrown at us, a little rock, one rock, two rocks, three rocks are coming in. So we got 3 different cameras going. We got a night infrared, full spectrum, thermal imagery. We got them all going. We got them all pointing in different directions. So we turn them and we point them all towards the stone wall where this creature is standing behind. Now, when this creature whooped, okay, I put my headlamp on and ran with the camera over the wall, jumped over the wall to the edge of the little cliff there to see what was in the swamp. I wanted to see it. I wanted to put eyes on it. Brian jumped over it. Bill jumped over it. We got 3 cameras going. We're filming, but there's nothing on anything. There's no image of anything on any of the cameras, not even on the thermal imager, okay? Bill has this 1,500 luma flashlight that lights up a spotlight.
A landing plane.
Yes, we hit this area. We hit the swamp with this 1,500 luma flashlight, and there was nothing there. Literally, we hear a whoop from the south side. Now, I'm not saying this creature ran 3 miles in 3 seconds to the south side.
Right.
I don't know if it was the same creature that was standing below us that was making the whoops, or if the one at the other end was making whoops to distract us from what we were doing, because maybe we were getting too close to something.
Yeah.
I have a theory, and it's just my theory, and I'm not an expert on anything. I don't claim to be an expert on anything, but I have a theory that these creatures can manipulate the spectrum of light that they're in, that we can't see them. And that's why I think sometimes they could be standing right next to us and we don't see them, because we're not looking at them in the spectrum of light that they're vibrating in.
Right.
Or whatever they do. Okay. But anyway, we're not seeing anything. And again, we got 3 cameras and this giant flashlight. So we go back to the other side of the wall. We sit down. Okay, let's just chill out, see what happens. We're sitting down. 5 minutes later, a rock comes over the ridge, over the top of the trees, over the top of the trees. Now, there's no leaves on the trees because it's the fall. Over the top of the trees, lands between me and Bill, and rolls down and hits Brian's chair. This rock is the size of a bowling ball. If this creature wanted to kill us, all it had to do was hit any of us with this stone, and we would have been dead. Everybody jumps up. Brian says, I think it's time to... Not yet. I don't think so. I think we should just wait, and I'm not ready yet. I'm not a psychic by any stretch of the imagination, but I get gut feelings and I get vibes. And the vibe I was getting is like, don't leave, not yet. There's still more to come. So we're sitting there, okay, and we're kind of set up in a triangle formation. Bill on one point, me and Brian on the 2 sides of him. He's sitting closest to the wall, with his back to the wall, facing me and Brian, and we're facing him. All of a sudden, we hear something come charging up the ridge. Bada boom, bada boom, bada, like it's on all 4s.
Oh my God.
And it's coming. It's coming, and you can hear the twigs breaking. You can hear and something is coming up this ridge, and it's coming up full speed. Bill jumps up because he's got his back to the wall, and he starts to run. As he's running by me, I reach out and grab him. Now, I don't know how I did this. Took my eyes off of the location where the sound was coming from, but I grabbed him, I stopped him then, I spun him around, and I told him, stand your ground. We pulled out our machetes, because I'm thinking this is a mountain lion coming over that wall. When it hits that wall, it's going to jump on one of us, and we're going to have to kill this thing. before it kills one of us. Because that's what I'm thinking. It's a mountain lion or a bear.
Right, because you're hearing now that it's on all fours, so you're thinking, okay.
It's on all fours. And at this point, I didn't know that Sasquatches did bluff charges. I knew bears did, but I didn't know.
Right, right.
This becomes charged. The sound comes right up to the wall. Now, we're all standing there with headlamps on that are like a couple of 500 luma headlamps. All three of us got our headlamps on and our machetes out, and we're standing there in a triangle formation. Now, I happen to be the first guy up with Bill and Brian are winging me on either side, and I'm standing there, and I got this headlamp on. The sound comes right up to the edge of the wall and then disappears. It doesn't come over the wall. It doesn't stop and walk away. It just stops dead.
Oh.
And nothing comes over the wall. So I take out my little handheld camera and I start taking photographs. We're filming with all the other cameras. We get nothing on the cameras. Okay. Long story short, I posted that photograph in night, and somebody from, I don't know if it was California or something, pulled that picture up and was going through it, who has better equipment than we do, because we're just working guys. We're not getting paid by TV. We don't have a TV contract. Right. So we're just working guys. And this dude cleans up the photograph, and in my flash, standing behind a tree and the wall, you see a nose. A muzzle, like almost like a dog kind of head.
Are you talking that it was a dog man?
I don't know what it is. I'm thinking it has like a pit bull head, like a square head.
Oh my God!
It's got a dog nose, and it has two little pointy ears, like a pit bull's when they're cropped.
You know what? I've heard that there's the variety of Bigfoot. Because you know that there's a prototypical Bigfoot thing that kind of looks like a man, but they say that there's a variety of Bigfoot that looks exactly like what you're describing. And by the way, they're considered very dangerous in comparison to the others.
I don't know if this was what they call a type 2 Sasquatch, the kind with a dog's head,
right,
or if this was a dog man per se.
Exactly.
I don't know, but whatever this thing was, there, okay?
Oh my.
And we sat back down for another half hour, and the place just went dead. The energy changed till we left, okay? And for years, we didn't know that was in the photograph. We had no idea it was even. We looked at all these photographs. We didn't see anything. We for some reason we didn't have the right equipment to clean it up.
Right,
so when the dude sent me the image back, right, I thought he had doctored the image. I said, "Oh, this is Photoshop." So I went image and I started playing with it with my software, and sure as shit, in the original photograph, there it is.
Huh?
There it was. Yeah. So long story. All right. So now we decide to leave that. We go to our second location. As we're walking to our second location, we're crossing over a bunch of huge rocks, and I see this light in the sky flickering, and I'm like, "Oh God, please don't let this be a UFO, right?"
So you're still, in other words, you still haven't really left the area. You're going to your second location on foot.
No, we're going to our second. We're in between the first location. We're working our way back to the car. We're about 4 miles deep into the woods.
Okay.
So we're at like the north end of the lake, right at the north end of the lake, tip of the lake, and we're crossing over, and it's like a little clearing there, like a little inlet stuff, and there are ducks that are there and everything. And I see this light in the sky. Now, I'm not going to say nothing to nobody, because the last thing I want is for anybody to get abducted, right? So I don't say anything. Brian is streaming. He's with his live, because he's a tech guy.
Right.
He's streaming live on Twitter, filming. And Bill happens to look up and say, "Hey, what's that?"
Oh.
Brian's filming it. Bill's pointing at it. I'm looking at it, and I say to everybody, "Shut off your headlamps. Shut off our headlamps." We're sitting there in the dark. Now, this thing was going from west to east. as soon as Bill says, "What's that?" it stops. And it starts to head south towards like the city.
Okay.
And then it stops again. And then all of a sudden, it makes a beeline at us. And I'm telling you, it was at the south end of the lake. We're at the north end of the lake, 3 miles away. It crossed that lake in like a second, okay? Boom. Now it's above us. And you hear us on the video, because we got this video up on our sites.
Right.
Brian is filming it, you know? So it's silver, it's white, it's flashing now orange and red, and 1 minute it's there, 1 minute it's not, and we're filming this, and you hear us all talking. What is it? It's a plane? Is it a drone? Is it, you know, people are cursing in the video. What the fuck? You know, I don't want to curse, but everybody's cursing.
Right? No, I can.
You know, we don't know what's going on. It's from us. Like I said, I had everybody shut off their headlamps. You know, because this thing, I don't want this thing to see us. This thing hits us with a floodlight, and it lights us up. Now we're standing in this floodlight looking up at this thing, and at first it wasn't making any noise. So it was not a drone. It was not a plane. It was no balloon. It wasn't no swamp gas. This thing is above us, and it hits us with a floodlight, and it's looking at us. So we're looking at it. We're studying it. Brian's filming it. It's looking at us. And then I say, you know what? Let's get out of this light, because we don't know what this light's doing to us. So we step out of the light. As we step out of the light, it blinks off and flies away. Boom, it's gone. You hear me yell in the video, time check. Bill gives me a time check. From the minute it got there, then we get to our second location. I do another time check. Okay, no time is missing. It's about the right amount of time from location A to location B. We get the second location, call the psychic up. It's like 9 o'clock at night or something like that, 9:30. And we call the psychic up, and I say, okay, we're at our second location. What do you see happening here? And she's, okay, this location is totally different than the first location. Because here you're going to start seeing a lot of strange anomalies. You're going to see, she called them woodland creatures, like gnomes and stuff you're going to see. And we're laughing, like, gnomes? Like, what are you on, you know? Gnomes, we're going to see gnomes. And she says, you're going to see these balls of light. But she doesn't call them balls of light. She calls them fairies. They're fairies to her. But she's going to look like balls of light to us. You're going to see gnomes, and you're going to see shadow figures, and all this stuff is going to happen. Like I said, we take it as like a grain of salt. Okay, no problem. So I turned to Brian. I said, if we see any balls of light tonight, I said, Native American law says, don't follow these things deep into the woods. They'll take you deep into the woods, and there's nothing good will happen to it. So don't follow them. I said, what we're going to do is, we're going to hit them with our laser pointers. Okay? He said, okay, we'll hit them. We'll see what happens then. No problem. So now Brian's facing me. I'm facing Brian. Bill's to my right. Bill's actually filming the meteor shower because he does a Skywatch. He has his own Skywatch gig. He does Skywatch. He's filming the meteor shower for his Skywatch, and I'm seeing like 7-foot shadow figures jumping from tree to tree.
What?
Yeah, they're going from tree to tree. And I'm like, Bill, film the trees. I'm seeing shadow figures. So I start taking pictures with my little handheld camera of the trees. Okay. Brian's like, Bill, he's looking behind at my back. He says, Bill, film behind Al. Those trees back there behind those woods. I'm seeing little, like, 3-foot white gnomish looking creatures with like gnome hats on and everything running from tree to tree back there. So I says, what are you?
Oh my God.
Ain't bro? See, because I'm telling you. So Bill starts filming behind my back. I got the monitor. In the monitor, we got an SD card.
Okay.
Bill is filming with the camera. I'm holding the monitor. He's holding the camera. Sure as I swear to you, I swear on a stack of Bibles, on my dead mother's grave, a little 3-foot gnome comes out from behind a tree, and it runs from one tree to the other. When he gets to the second tree, a second one comes out and runs to that tree. Now, Bill is freaking out because he's looking at it through the viewfinder of the camera. He's like, dude, did you just see that? And I'm like, dude, I got it, the monitor in my hand. I seen it. We're both jumping out of our skins because we know we got the SD card in here filming. We just captured two fucking woodland creatures running from tree to tree with, you know, at this point, Brian says, look, across the lake from where we just left, there's two balls of light. The size of a grapefruit, you know, small grapefruit.
Right. And this is around that nuclear lake thing that you were talking about, right?
Right. We're still at Nuclear Lake, yeah.
Okay.
Now, we were just on that side of the lake. That's where we had all of our experiences.
Okay.
So Brian says, what do you want to do? I said, okay, you hit the one on the right with your green laser. I'll hit the one on the left with my red laser. And I said, Bill, on the count of three, you hit it with your Luma flashlight. We'll light up those whole woods. We'll see what's there. On three, boom. Soon as those laser beams hit those two balls of light, they blinked out. Bill hit that thing with his giant Luma flashlight. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. It didn't sound like it could hide behind the bush because there's no leaves on anything. It's the fall. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's not. Oh, we're discussing the shadow figures on the trees. We're discussing the gnomes. So we start looking through our photographs to see what we caught anything. And I start noticing in my photograph, I got a blue mist and a red fog. And I'm like, dude, what? You're the tech guy. Explain to me how we got a blue mist and a red fog on a crystal clear night, you know? And he goes, it's weird. He goes, you got a totally different camera than me.
You didn't see this with a naked eye. It was only when you were reviewing it in the camera?
Yes. So he checks his camera, totally different camera than mine, and he's got the blue mist and the red fog in it. So we're just sitting there, and we're dumbfounded. Like, we can't believe what's on, right? All of a sudden, we hear a family coming down the Appalachian Trail in the middle of the night on Halloween. You hear a mother and a father and two little kids, but you can't hear what they're saying. It's rocks and we're sitting at the opening of the Appalachian Trail in this meadow, in the dark, you know. And I said to everybody, put your headlamps on so these people can see us, because, you know, they're going to come out here, they're going to see three grown men with knives and machetes and everything. Like, they're going to be freaking out, right? And we don't want to scare these people, let them know that we're here. So we put our headlamps on, and we hear the talking. We hear the murmuring and the sound and like the giggling, sound like little kids laughing. I swear to God, it sounded like they were kicking rock. Comes right up to the end of the trail. No one comes out of the trail. No one comes out. Bill, I said, grab your flashlight. Let's go in there. So we go in. He hits with his 1,500 Luma flashlight. We go in. We walk in about an eighth of a mile. There's nobody there. It's a ghost town. So we call the psychic, and we say, hey, this is what's going on. And she's like, why are you guys calling me so late? And I'm like, what are you talking about? We've only been here like 10 minutes. She goes, Al, you called me at 9:30. It's 11:30 now. You know, you called me at 11:30 at night. You know, like, what do you mean it's 11:30? We lost 2 hours of time.
Oh.
We didn't even know we lost. It felt like we were there 15 minutes. I swear to God, every single one of us said, there's no way it's 11:30. You know, we just called you like 10 minutes ago. And she's like, no, you called me 2 hours ago. So we tell her what's going on. And she says, you're in a space-time continuum, she said. And the family you heard coming down the trail, they won't be there till tomorrow morning sometime.
Wow.
She goes, so we're freaking out.
I
Like,
bet.
we can't believe what's going on, right? And we tell her what's going on. And basically everything that she told us that we were going to see, we say, so now we go to our third location, which is like almost like a campsite on the west side of the trail, again, where the Appalachian Trail comes right out to this campsite, where it's not an official campsite. You're not allowed to camp there, but people do anyway. And everybody who camps there has Sasquatch experience. Okay. So we go there, you know, and we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, I get it in my head, like, oh, tonight's the night. We got to change the clocks back. So it's 11:45, and I wanted to be there for 12 o'clock because that's when everybody has their experiences at this this spot. You know, if you go on the website and you read, the sightings are always around 12 o'clock at this site off the Appalachian Trail.
Okay.
So I said, you know what, man? It's 11:45 or 10 to 12. Tonight you change the clocks back, so we got to change the clocks. So that means we're going to have to sit here for like another hour. We've been in these woods for like 8 hours at this point. We are physically and mentally drained. The energy of this location is just off the charts. Okay, so everybody says, with this site, we'll come back here another time. Let's get the hell out of here. So as we're walking down the mining road, because the game plan was after the investigation was over, we were going to go to the diner, grab a bite to eat, have a cup of coffee, and talk about the investigation.
Right.
All right. Looking out, we're discussing what a shitty night it was. We didn't have anything happen to us. Like, we're not recalling all the stuff that we just went through, you know? And it was weird. That whole night we were in those woods, we didn't hear anything. We didn't see any sign of animal life or nothing. The closer we got to civilization, towards the end of the mining road that led out to the main road where the cars were parked, we started hearing crickets, we started seeing deer, we started all kinds of animal life, but it was all away from the woods. It was towards the road. So we get to the cars, everybody's burnt out, everybody goes home, everybody heads off in different directions. We don't even say goodbye. We just get to the car and goes home. Boom. Nobody goes to the diner. The next day, Brian calls me up. Brian lives in the Bronx. So he's like an hour and a half away from me. He calls me up. He says, dude, I woke up with this metallic taste in my mouth, and I was spitting blue phlegm, and I got a bruise on my chest like somebody punched me in the chest. They said nobody fell last night. There were nobody got hurt. There was no accidents. We were really careful, you know, because the Appalachian Trail, at one point it's a nice trail, and the next minute it turns into like a goat trail. It gets really sketchy, you know, very dangerous. Very dangerous at spots. So I made sure everybody really took it slow and steady, you know. I said nothing happened. He says, how about you? How do you feel? I said, you know what? Now that you mention it, my bottom lip is swollen, like somebody punched me in the face last night, and I feel like there's something implanted behind my lip. There's something hard in my lip. And he's like, really? Call Bill. So we called Bill. We get Bill on a conference call, and Bill says, dude, I had night terrors all night. I was screaming. I was having crazy dreams. He said, and I woke up this morning. I got a bruise on my face like somebody slapped me so hard that so we all woke up with injuries. Nobody fell, no one got hurt. So we called the psychic down in Arkansas and say, Cindy, you know, what happened to him? Woke up with bruises. Brian's got spitting blue phlegm with metallic taste. Now, I'm feeling loopy for 3 days afterwards. I was loopy. Now, I don't know if it was something to do with the energy of the lake, the full moon, or if we were being hit with infrasound. I don't know, but I was loopy for 3 days. I was physically able to go to work and do my job.
Okay.
Not on point for 3 days. So Cindy says, you know, I don't know what happened, but all I know is they hang my cell phone last night when I was talking to you guys. I woke up with a rash on it this morning. And she's in Arkansas.
Wow.
So explain that. I mean, that's just crazy.
Have you ever gone back afterwards, Al, to that location?
Back all the time. Are you crazy? You think I'm going to let this place? We went back one time. Bill, we were doing it's called the Pine Bush UFO Fair up here in New York. So it's like the New York capital of the UFO capital of New York State, right, where most of the sightings are.
Okay.
And we were having a fair up here, and we were going back one day. We had a friend of ours visiting. She's a blogger from England. She came up for the fair. She flew in for the fair. And so she goes, Al, take me to Nuclear Lake. I want to see this location where you guys have all this crazy stuff going on. She had never seen any Sasquatch structures or anything like that. So I said, okay. So we decided to go to Nuclear Lake. And like the first mile, 2 miles in is nice. It's like a 10-foot wide paved mining road. It's a beautiful road, easy to walk on. So we're hiking in, and I'm taking her off the main road, and I'm showing her structures. Like, this is a break, this is a bend, this is a twist, this is an archway, this is an X, you know, and I'm pointing all this stuff out. And then I'm pointing out the smaller stuff on the ground, the lower stuff. I said, and these are structures that are made by juveniles, you know, that's why they're not made so well, and this, that, and the other thing, you know. So we're sitting in this location, and I got the ghost meter going, right?
Okay.
And no, the ghost radar going, and the ghost radar says we got 3 entities around us. Now the psychic calls my psychic calls the Sasquatches the guardians.
Okay.
And she says every time we go in, they know we're coming, and they're waiting for us. So, you know, I don't know if these things are following us through the woods, but I always get the feeling that something is following me from on the swamp side of the woods. But the ghost radar is always telling me there's something on the west side of where the ridges are, the mountain ridges. So anyway, we're sitting in this location. Bill's filming, and again, we got this up on the site. He puts his camera down, but it's still filming, and I'm explaining to the woman from Heidi from England about the cameras, and I'm telling her, yeah, it looked like the Blair Witch Project. And you hear me film. Bill's got his camera on the log. He's talking about mosquitoes eating us alive, and he's getting the mosquito spray out. Don't you think we got over that video and we captured a Class A EVP?
Really?
Said a woman's voice calling Bill's name, not once, but twice. You hear her say, and then a few seconds go by. Says, Bill. Now, Bill doesn't know this until afterwards when he gets home. He's playing the video for Heidi, and he hears it. He calls me up freaking out because, you know, you're calling his name, not mine.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, that day, as we're walking through the woods, we're bringing Heidi to the high ridge line. We pass a burn. Some point that winter, there must have been a fire in the woods. There was a burn. And something is drawing me into this burnt area. And I'm walking into this burnt area, and Bill goes, where you going? I said, I don't know, man. I'm being pulled. So I'm walking through, because now you got to remember, the brambles and the bushes and the prickle bushes are so thick that before that burn was there, we couldn't get 1 foot into this area. Okay. Now I can get in 100 yards.
Okay.
And I'm being pulled. So I'm being pulled. I notice, like, on top of this ridge, it looks like a cairn. So I say, hey, Bill, zoom in on that ridge, on that cairn up there with your camera. Let's get a better look at it. So Bill zooms in on it, and it's not a cairn at all. It's a megalithic stone with hundreds of stones on top of it. Bill is like, how are we going to get up there? I go, follow me. And I charge up this ridge like a madman. Get to the top of the ridge, and it opens up to a flat plateau. And in this flat plateau are megalithic stones set up in a circle, like a 100-yard radius circle. And each stone has hundreds of little stones on top of it. So Bill's filming, I'm taking pictures, and I like, oh, now we really start examining. Is there bends and breaks and twists and arches and X's, but there's trees pulled down and wedged under other pulled down. I mean, big. I mean, and there's trees that are being, the little trees that are being pinched underneath the big one.
Okay.
The big one is a dead fall that grabbed it and pulled it down, because the little one is 15 feet to the right of it. There's no way this thing could fall to the north and take this tree down to the east. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we start filming this place. We start examining. We're taking hundreds of photographs, and I said, Cindy, we just found this location. She goes, where are you? And I said, we're on a high plateau. She goes, Al, you're at a sacred site. I go, what do you mean? She goes, this is a sacred site. She goes, this site has been used as a sacred location for thousands of years. For the Native Americans used it as a sacred site. She said there was white men there in robes who built it. Wow. Thousands of years before the Native. Now, I'm thinking that the ridge, this mountain that we're on, this plateau, may have something to do with the location where they used to mine the uranium. Okay. And maybe everybody thinks this is a sacred site because the UFOs are coming. The uranium is in the mountain. You know what I mean? Exactly. Because there've been tons of UFO reports siphoning water out of the lake. There have been reports of little red orbs flying out of the lake and then flying back in. So I'm saying, so she called it the Guardian, used it as a sacred site. And she goes, whatever you do, do not do anything to disrespect this site. This is a sacred site. Right. Keep it as pristine as you can. So I said, okay, no problem. Now, the whole time we're there, I'm getting the feeling, lying to my west, I'm getting a feeling that beyond that ridge is the home range of the Sasquatches. Okay. But I'm not going up on that ridge, and I'm not going into their range. I'm respecting their space, right. and I'm telling them this. I'm saying, if you're listening and you hear me, or you're following me, right. I'm going to respect your sacred site. I'm going to respect your home, and I'm not ever going to come up on that ridge, and I'm never going to go over that ridge. I promise you, I'm not going to tell anybody about this site that will disrespect. In the meantime, Bill calls this woman Dr. Rita Louise, right? And he FaceTimes her, and he's showing her all these ancient structures, these bones. And she's like, where the hell are you guys? In England or Ireland? And we're like, no, we're in New York. And she goes, you found a megalithic site in New York State? And I'm like, at Nuclear Lake. This is our hotspot location. And she goes, oh my God, the site is amazing. And Bill walked her around the whole site with FaceTime. She's seen the whole thing. She was blown away, you know. She just couldn't believe it, what we found. Like I said, we would have never found that location if that wasn't burnt out.
Right, because I was about to say, because otherwise you just couldn't get there, right?
No, I can't tell you how many times we walked right past that burnout. We must have walked past it 100 times, and I never felt like I was being drawn there. I never felt, but because it was all burnt out and it was open and I could get into it, I said, maybe I'm being drawn in. And then when I got to the edge where the ridge actually started to go up, the mountain, and I was like, okay, I'm being drawn here. I got to go, you know. And that's how we found our sacred. I get feelings, you know what I mean? I get gut feelings, and if I plan on going out on an investigation, whether it's paranormal or cryptid or whatever, right? And I get a vibe that says, I don't think this is a good idea. I think maybe you should bail on this one. I bail on it. You know what I mean? If my gut tells me don't go,
yes.
And there's so many more experiences we had there that we could talk about other time. Another time. I know I've had Jennifer a long time tonight. I'm sorry.
This has been great. This has been so fascinating. It's like, because it's stuff, and you know what? And I'm glad to hear that you honor your intuition. Okay, because the thing is, sometimes you dodge the bullet, but sometimes there's no way to know you dodged the bullet because you don't go. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, without a doubt. I mean, I'll be brutally honest. I'll be brutally honest. 99.9 says don't go. I won't go. But sometimes I'm still feeling like I need to go, you know? And I'll roll that dice once in a blue moon. I'll roll a dice, and even against my better judgment. And so far, so good. I've been lucky. I haven't had any bad experiences, but you know, those are far and few between. You know, sometimes I'll roll the dice on it, but most of the times, you know, my gut says don't go. We're going to haunted house or something, and my gut says you may want to pass on this one. You know,
Right, yeah.
I'll pass. You know,
Right,
you know,
right.
Yeah, no, I listen to my gut. You know, I really do. Like I said, it's something I've had my whole life. I mean, even young guy hanging out down in the city, you know what I mean, going to the clubs down in the city, you know, Chippendales and all of those clubs and stuff. You know, we were all partying, hanging out at all those clubs. There would be times I would be sitting there with my girlfriend or whoever I was with that night, and I would got to move. And she would say, I remember one time when she was online to go to the bathroom, she'd go, stand with me, you know, so I'm standing online with her, and I'm looking at her, and she's talking to me, and I'm looking at the bar, because I'm watching my beer. I got 2 beers on the bar. I'm watching my beer to make sure nobody throws my beers away and takes them. And I'm looking at the bar, and I'm looking at her, and I see these dudes at the bar. They're talking shit, and they're looking over, they're talking, they're looking over, and I'm looking at her, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, you got to move. And she's like, what do you mean I got to move? I said, you got to move right now. And I grabbed her, and I just yanked her the line, and like we you know, dragged her like 3 feet away. And no sooner did I did that, one of the dudes at the bar grabbed the beer and threw it at some chick who was standing on line, and it broke. The bottle broke right where she was standing. And if I didn't pull her out of the way, it would have hit her right in the head. And she looked at me, she's like, I just got a vibe that you needed to move. You needed to move right then and there. And I couldn't stand there and argue with you, because this was the kind of chick that would argue with you over everything. Why do I got to move? What do I got to move? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, you know,
exactly.
mafia. The prince, a mafia. She was like a mafia princess. You know, she just couldn't do what you told her to do. She'd argue with you. And I just.
Yeah, but you knew time was of the essence, so this is not a moment to give you a lot of explanation about this.
Yeah, and she just looked at me like, how did you? I don't know, man. I just got a vibe, you know? And that happened to us all the time. We were in clubs, you know, go clubbing and stuff, and we would be in a club, and we'd be dancing. And I would say, okay, we got to go. She's like, what do you mean we got to go? We got to go right now. We got to go right now. And as we're walking out the door, a big melee would start in the middle of the floor. Maybe 2 different gangs would walk in, you know, one from each side of the room, and they would meet in the middle of the dance floor, and everybody would just start fighting and stuff, you know.
Right, and if you're the innocent bystander, it doesn't matter really. You're gonna get it.
Yeah, I've been in clubs where I had to fight my way out. You know what I mean? So I don't want to. If I got a vibe and something tells me, you know, we got to go right now, then we got to go, you know.
So it served you in good stead all this time that you listen to that little voice or that feeling that you get. It's like, yeah. There's a lot of people, they dismiss it, and I'm gonna say it, especially men, that they're like, oh, you know, like my imagination, you know, they don't want to like really buy into it, because it's, let's face it, it's a feeling. You know, it's this thing that's telling you leave now or move over there. But
it's funny because it starts in my gut. Like, I'll get this vibe that, and it works its way up, you know, like towards my chest, my heart, and I'll say, okay, something's wrong, and then if I kind of drag it out and I don't leave right then and there, I'll hear a voice in my head that says, now, you got to go, like, right now. You know what I mean? Like, I'll hear a voice in my head, like in the back of my head screaming, you got to go right now. Right now you got to go. Don't, you know, there's no time to think about it. Not one more second. Got to react right now, you know. And if I hear that voice in the back of my head screaming at me, then I got to start running, you know.
Yeah.
Because I know something's going down any second, you know.
Yeah, I'm telling you, yeah, sometimes collateral damage in those situations, people have nothing to do with it. It's like wrong, you know, wrong place, wrong time. Well, you remove yourself out of the wrong place, wrong time. Absolutely.
Without a doubt. Yeah. I mean, like I said, you know, Yeah, I can't tell you how many times we were in clubs, you know, and we'd say, okay, we got to go now. And then, you know, people be like, why do we got to go, man? We're having a good. It's like,
It's like,
don't leave right now. We're going to be in the middle of this. You know what I mean? And we would leave, and then the next day we would hear, you know, through the local rumor mill. Oh, did you hear what happened at you know, the Fun House last night? There was some shot it up or something. You know what I mean? So
yes.
yeah.
I'm telling you. But I'm glad to hear that, you know, you're like, in other words, it's like you follow. It's like, okay, I might not understand how this works, but I know enough that I'm going to do what it tells me to do.
Oh yeah. Like I said, you know, I don't claim to be a psychic by any stretch of the imagination. Believe me, I'm not. You know what I mean? And I would never say that I was. But gut feelings, vibes, all the time. I'll tell you, next time we talk, I'll tell you about what dragged me into the swamp one day. One day I was being pulled into the swamp. And I'll tell you what we discovered there next time we talk. And that's going to blow your mind, too, because that led to a whole bunch of different things happening at the house as well. So it's crazy stuff.
Okay, we have to take this up again. We have to, Al. It's like, man, that's the cliffhanger. What is that? Yes, and I know you've got a lot and we were talking before we were recording that we were talking about when you do things that happen, you know, all the weird stuff that I know that this is like the tip of the iceberg with you, the story that you were talking about. So I know there's a lot more. Oh my gosh. Don't worry, you know, I'll be getting in touch with you so we can set up a new date because this is like part 1 and this is we're going to go to part 2, you know, or the sequel. Yes, absolutely.
I got so much stuff. And like I said, we keep going back to Nuclear Lake. It is our hot spot. And every time we go there, we have something happen. Always something different. I mean, it's always Sasquatch related, mostly, except for like a Dogman thing we had there. Right. But I mean, every time we go to the sacred, go there for a Sasquatch. You know what I mean? That's what we're going there to see, to make contact with and stuff. And we'd always have success all the time. And I'm not bragging by any stretch of the imagination, and I don't know if it's every time we go out, call the psychic and say, okay, what are we going to experience? Okay, you're going to experience this, that, and the other. She said, it's everything from me. This, that, and the other. So we write it down. Okay, again, we take it with a grain of doesn't matter that she's been right every single time for the last 5 years. Because we're from New York, we don't believe in psychics. You know what I mean? We take it with a grain of salt. We don't go there expecting to find this, that, or the other thing. We go there and we just let it roll. Let's see what happens.
Which is the best way to look at it.
Every time we go there, we have so much. Everything we do, we always capture something. We always capture some kind of evidence, and there's always a point in the night where what she says is going to happen. Every single time she's spot on, but we never go there expecting it. It's
Let me ask you something, Al. Has she ever told you not to go? Have you ever said, "Hey, we're planning to go"? Has she ever said, "Don't go"? Like this, don't go this one time.
You got time for a quick story?
Yes.
Okay. We have a monthly meeting. We have an evidence review meeting where we review our evidence, and we like to look at, ever since these people found, this guy in California, not only did he find this evidence in one of our photos, he found a picture of a Sasquatch that we didn't even know we had. Okay? So now that he's done this, we review the old stuff just to see what we missed. Okay. So we're sitting in a meeting and we're throwing stuff around. Where do you want to go? You know, the Satan Asylum. We got this Satan Asylum. We could go to here. We got this haunted mansion. We could go to there. And one of the guys says to me, he says, "Hey," at the time he was like my research guy. He used to research everything. He says, his name was Alan. He says, "Hey Al, I've been reading World War II ammunition depots built in the side of this mountain in Ramapo, New Jersey. Now, it was called Ramapo, New Jersey, because that was the name of the Native American tribe back in the day, okay? And what the Army did during World War II is they mined this giant mountain, and they put like 3 or 4 of these ammunition depots in where they would store ammunition for the East Coast, okay? Okay, for the East Coast. And he says he's been doing research on these ammunition mines, and you know, there's a lot of crazy stories about homeless people living in them, people doing devil worshiping in them, and people seeing all kinds of stuff in these things. They had all kinds of experience. Maybe we should go there. I said, okay, let's put it on the to-do list. Sounds like a good plan to me, right? A couple of days later, Psychic called. Always plan to do something. I never tell her what we're going to do. She always calls me up and she says, okay, I'm having these dreams, I'm having those dreams, I'm having these feelings. What do you guys got planned? What do you guys planning? I'm having this crazy stuff going on in my dreams, and I know it's got to do with you guys. Because we never tell her anything about the location at the last minute, you know?
Right.
And so I tell her, I said, what's going on? She says, Al, I don't know, but I'm having these lucid dreams. They feel, I'm in these dark tunnels. I don't know where I am, but I'm in a dark tunnel, and I see this creature come out of the darkness. I don't know what it is. I've never seen anything like it before. Through this one tunnel, but it chases me through 3 different tunnels.
Oh my God.
And it even came here to my house. It chased me to my house. She was like, I don't know what the hell you guys plan on doing. I don't know where you plan on going, but whatever you're doing, so don't go. I said, well, explain to me what you've seen. So she goes on to explain what she's seen in her dream. So I know what it is. She doesn't know what it is. I says, sounds like you're being chased by a Wendigo. She goes, what the hell's a Wendigo?
Wow.
So I shoot her a photo of a Wendigo, and she says, oh my God, this is exactly what attacked me in my dream. She goes, where are you guys going? And she goes, is it Native American land? I said, well, yeah, it was at one time, the and she says, don't go. She goes, it was sacred land, and it was violated. And when they violated, and I told her what they were, you know, ammunition depots. And she goes, well, when the government dug these tunnels out on this mountain, which was like a sacred mountain in Ramapo Indians, it cursed the land and this creature. Don't go. She goes, if you go, you guys are in danger. She goes, one of you was going to get either something attached to him or hurt really bad. She goes, you can't go to this place. She goes, promise me you won't go. And I said, listen, if you feel that strongly about it, I'm out. And I told Alan about it. I said, listen, Alan, I'm sorry. I know it was you wanted to go there. I says, but I can't put myself, my family, my team, your families in jeopardy. God forbid somebody gets hurt there, or God forbid this thing attaches itself to somebody, goes back to someone's home with it. I was like, we can't go, you know. And he was disappointed, but he respected my decision because, you know, he had small children too, you know what I mean? And nobody wanted to face off with a Native American, you know, demon, you know what I mean? So
it's like, okay.
Yeah, that was the only time she told us never to go anywhere, and she was livid. She said it took her a long time to get that thing out of her dreams. You know what I mean? She said because she's also an empath, and she felt its energy for like a month. She said it was always there, like just waiting to come out, but she was blocking it. She blocked it enough where it wouldn't actually attack her in her dreams, but she could feel its energy just beyond that block behind her, the wall she put up, you know?
Right.
But, you know, it dissipated over time, and, you know, we never went there, so, you know, she never had experience it.
Right.
That was the first and only time she told us never to go somewhere, and we didn't.
good, because I'm
And
sure.
it's funny because every now and then somebody will, you know what, man, we've never hit those ammunition depots. We should see if what Cindy says about it now. Maybe the energy has changed. You know, I was like, you know what, we're gonna let that go because she had nightmares for a month, and I'm not gonna put that on her again. You know.
Right, and chances are that whatever was there is still there, especially if it's tied to the
Or it
land
is.
for whatever reason.
And if people have done devil worshiping there
yeah.
as well, you know, I mean, if it wasn't there when the military built the thing, you know, by degrading the land, you know, the
Yes.
sacred Native American land, it's bad enough. But then you got kids going in there practicing, you know, Sangria or, you know, just devil worship. You know what I mean? You know,
they've amped it
I'm
up.
out. Yeah, I'm out. I don't need that on my head.
Something.
You know
what? On what she described, I wouldn't go there.
No, and we never have.
Anyway, Al, thank you so very much for spending this time. It has been so fascinating, and you look for my part 2 sequel interview with Al Santoriga email, because you're going to be getting that very soon, because you've got so many great stories. And
yeah, you know, we do a lot of stuff, you know, and I'm actually working on something new right now. We got a case came in over the BPS hotline just recently came in, and I'm working on something with a shaman right now. You know, just started working on something new, so maybe by the next time we come, we could even, you know, touch on that. You know.
Yes. I would love to hear about that. But anyway, I wanted to thank you so much for spending this time. You are, like I said, the subject matter is fascinating, but you tell it so well. So I'm looking forward to having you come back.
And I'm looking forward to coming back. I love it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it for having me. It's my pleasure.
No, likewise. Take care.
Yes, absolutely.
Good night.
Good night.
Wow. You know what? It's almost like part of me is like, God, that nuclear lake, it's in New York. It's almost like, I wish it was close by, but then at the other part of me is like, oh my God. I mean, that place sounds like a hotbed. It's like, okay, so pick what type of experience do you want to have. Let me tell you something. There's moments there that I think personally I would have run. I would have like, and I've seen and experienced a lot of things firsthand that, yeah, I've stood my ground. I'm not saying that, you know, you do like a double take, like, all right, okay. But there was things going on there that he described that I don't know. I would have done like, okay, I think I'll go sit in the car and figure out what I'm going to do next. Yeah. And you know what? He's not the only person that I've spoken to that has believed that Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever you want to, cryptid sightings have a, what's the thing I'm looking for? Like an interdimensional or paranormal angle to them. I mean, I know there's cryptid or Bigfoot investigators out there that believe in them, but see them strictly as missing link, whatever, but an animal or a human or whatever it is. But there's, in other words, there's no paranormal or mystical aspect to them, except the fact that they've been able to survive without being captured or any proof being brought forward. But besides that, you know, in other words, that if they haven't been seen or captured is because, number one, they're really good at camouflage, and number two, they're very stealthy, whatever. But again, no mysticism, nothing, strictly a physical being. But then I've spoken to other investigators who see that, but also see some type of correlation between sightings of either a Bigfoot, Sasquatch, or some other type of cryptid and either extraterrestrial activity, or what he was describing as far as intradimensional travel rips, doorways, portals. I mean, it's very interesting. Some people I've heard of the theory that that Bigfoot or cryptids are basically brought or generated by extraterrestrials. I mean, we could go a million different ways on this. And again, part of what I was describing there at Nuclear Lake was like, okay, we're here talking in unseen mystic world, or we're talking here beings that people think of as fairy tales, as in fairies, gnomes, nature spirits that people personify. In other words, these are nature spirits that have a human feature. They're human-like. Even though, let me tell you something, everything I've always heard about this type of spirit, which they're not elemental, but is that you have to be really, really careful with them. Personally, I'm very careful around them. I've had cases where there's been some aspect, and of course it's tied to the land, and by this I'm not strictly calling it an elemental, because it's not. It kind of belongs in that realm, but it's not. And I'm still very, very cautious around them. Very cautious around them. Because, again, it's almost like their behavior, if you try to figure it out the way humans think of things, somehow or other you're gonna be wrong. So you gotta be really, really, really careful. In other words, in my book, and everybody's different, I know there's people out there that because it's nature, or we call them elves and fairies and gnomes and other type of nature spirits or sprites or whatever, they're very partial to them. And I understand the concept as far as nature, that they're tied to the land or protection of the land. But anybody that's read anything about these types of beings know that you got to be very careful around them, especially if you don't want to offend them, because it becomes a problem. And again, sometimes it's things that people do unknowingly, and then it's like, it's a problem. Or, I mean, that's a whole nother show. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for being part of my audience. Go to MiamiGhostChronicles.com. There you could get links to the videos. You can get links to download the actual MP3 file for the podcast version of the show, or links directly to podcast platforms where the show is hosted, like Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher. You can find stories of the supernatural on all of these different platforms. Recently, I launched a new version or new series here called Supernatural Storytime, which is all the different stories that I've gotten throughout the years, and from even recently, about people having their own encounters, their own experiences. Like, I've been asking for my true believers, which I still am. So please, if you have a story, email it to me at Marlene@MiamiGhostChronicles.com. You can write it, whatever. And this was the best way of like I said, some of the stories are really short, because sometimes people just have these experiences. Let's say, for example, they lived in a house maybe a couple of years or months, sometimes it's months, or this is just like something that happened to them at a certain period of time, and they'll retell the story. So some of the stories are shorter, and again, sometimes there is no explanation as to the root or the cause, no resolution, because some people, either they move away or it stops. I mean, there's a lot. Sometimes people have experienced hauntings where they never find out why that's happening there. Sometimes they do. Sometimes somebody tells them, or sometimes they even know about it beforehand, or of something that happened there. And then later on, they start experiencing some unusual circumstances. But again, I'm supernaturalstorytime.com. You can go there, same thing. This just started February 4th, so there's going to be more of them coming out. And of course, I have a different series called nightshadediary.com, which is where I do some storytelling of a lot of either sci-fi, ghost stories, mysterious adventures, a lot of stuff that's out there that's really fascinating and good storytelling, great storytelling. So again, guys, I hope you subscribe to the channel, whether it's here on YouTube, on any of the podcast platforms, because that way you get notified when I release a new show. And also, you know, if again, I welcome any suggestions any of you may have for either a subject matter or a person that you would like to have me bring to the show, because right now I've got a full roster of guests lined up for the show. Okay, and they're all in and of themselves excellent, interesting guests, whether they're an author, an expert, people have had their own experiences like Al, you know, personal experiences, and then of course he's got his own paranormal team now, you know, later on, but you could tell that he's always been involved in this. And which, by the way, Davey, I've been to Davey, and what he was describing, I mean, I was born here in South Florida and grew up in South Florida, so what he's describing about Davey is absolutely right. During those years of the 1970s, Davey was right on the western edge of Broward County. Broward County is the county that sits just north of Miami-Dade, and out there it sat right on the edge of the Everglades. It was the western edge of the county, and like he described, you know, which is usually where they make and it was what they call horse country. A lot of people out there had horses, cattle. Davey, even to recently, Davey was known as Cowboy Town. I mean, Davey has had that reputation for a really long time. So what he was describing, it was like that's a very accurate portrayal of Davey during those years. And I'm listening to those stories, and I mean, where I live right now, I'm on the very western edge of Dade County. I live only a few miles from the Everglades, east of the Everglades. And I'm hearing those stories, and like all things, I think cryptids, or sometimes they cycle in and out. As you know, it's the cities grow further west. In this case, you know, the habitat changes, food sources change, and let's face it, the population just becomes too dense for something like a Bigfoot or a skunk ape to visit even. And by the way, when he said that thing about that they would see an uptick in the sightings of the skunk ape during the hot weather, I was thinking of the Predator movie. The first one with Arnold, and how the girl that they bring along with them starts describing how they start seeing these killings by the predator only when it was very, very hot. I was thinking, boy, okay, there we go. But anyway, guys, again, I've got fantastic guests coming on. Please check out supernaturalstorytime.com if you want to hear the true believer stories. It's more geared towards a podcast version, even though I do have it here as a video podcast as well. Check it out. I think you're going to love it. A lot of good stories from you guys, true stories of encounters with just unknown stuff. And again, what can I say? You are all wonderful. Take care.